This is a video review of the film. The film contains actors over 18 years of age. The video is made for entertainment purposes. The author of the video does not intend to offend anyone. Hi all. Today I will talk about a series called A Teacher. A young, beautiful teacher starts working at a school and falls in love with her 18-year-old student.
We don't have to do this if you don't want to.
A young literature teacher named Claire arrives at school. She meets other teachers and immediately becomes friends with Catherine. After her first day at work, Claire goes to the supermarket to buy food and steals one red lipstick. In the evening, she tells her husband about this. Nate asks why she did it. Claire says she goes to the store every day and decided to give herself a free gift. Nate doesn't judge his wife and just goes to bed. The couple has been wanting to have a child for a long time, but they are unable to do so. Claire thought that she and her husband were having problems in their family life, but Nate did not pay attention to this. In the morning, Claire comes to school and meets the students. Claire had her first lesson with older students. Several guys immediately noticed that the teacher was wearing a low-cut sweater. After school, a high school student named Eric walks into the principal's office to find out what he needs to do to get into college and get a scholarship there. The principal says that the guy has more time to fulfill his dream, but he needs to get 1,200 points in school tests. Eric is upset because this will be a difficult job for him. During training, Eric warms up with his best friends. Matt spots a woman in the parking lot, and Eric tells him that she is their new teacher.
And honestly, she could tell me to do whatever she wants.
After training, they come to Matt's house and discuss the girls. Eric recently broke up with Allison.
Yeah, of course they did. She's annoying as hell.
Matt says that he also found a girl he likes. This is a girl, Josh's sister. Claire's husband left for work all night. She gets bored and goes to a bar. Eric works at this bar. His friends force him to smoke and make them 2 milkshakes. They notice Claire at the bar, and Matt decides to go say hello. He's trying to be funny, but he looks really stupid. Matt calls his mom and tells him to come home. Josh also leaves without finishing his milkshake. Eric is left alone and feels embarrassed as he stands next to his teacher. He says his friends think milkshakes are free because he works here. Claire paid his bill. During the conversation, Claire notices that Eric is a smart guy and asks what he wants to do. He says he's planning on going to college, but he's having trouble with his school tests. Eric asks Claire to help him.
Maybe you could help me.
He wants her to become his tutor. Claire agrees. They discussed various topics a little more, and Eric realized that Claire was a very smart and modern woman who joked well. They left the cafe, and Eric asked for a ride home.
Well, I mean, if you're offering a ride...
Sure, okay.
Claire plays a cool song in the car.
You listen to this?
Yeah?
Eric realizes that he has a very cool teacher. Claire says that she has a brother who works in the police. The woman gives her student a ride home. They say goodbye to each other, and Claire goes home. At night, she sees a very interesting dream. Nate comes home. Claire asks him to kiss her, but Nate says he's too tired and wants to go to bed. Claire continued to persuade him, and he had to agree to help her. On the weekend, Eric comes to a party at Matt's house. He makes peace with his ex-girlfriend and goes with her to the second floor to a room for privacy, but they don't have time to do what they wanted. The police arrive. Eric tells Matt that now he won't be accepted into college. Eric tries to convince the officer not to file a report on him because it will ruin his whole life. But the officer says that Eric should have thought before doing a stupid thing. Eric notices a familiar name on the officer's badge. He understands that this is his teacher's brother.
Come on, don't make this difficult, all right?
No, Miss Wilson. She told me about you.
He asks to call her so that she can take him home. Eric lives with his mother, who works at night and will not be able to come. Claire arrives and asks her brother to forgive Eric for the first time. She gives him a ride home and says that he did a stupid thing. Eric apologizes and says he won't do that again. Claire asks not to call her by her last name when they are outside of school.
I have a first name. It's Claire.
The next weekend, Claire comes to Eric's house because he didn't answer the phone. She suggests canceling all plans and going for a walk. Eric sends his brothers to a neighbor's house and goes after his teacher. Claire takes him to the college Eric wants to go to get him motivated. Eric apologizes to Claire again for the incident. He says that now he has a lot of responsibility and sometimes he acts stupidly. He says Claire helps him a lot. Claire is glad that she is helping Eric.
I don't know, I feel like I can trust you.
Soon they meet Eric's friend who invites them to a party. Claire tells Eric that she has never been to such parties before, because when she was a student, she only thought about studying. She asks Eric not to miss this opportunity to be young.
We should probably go.
Claire returns home and meets her husband. Nate has bought new musical instruments and is planning to start a rock band. Claire is angry at him because he spent all their money without consulting her. In the evening, Eric finds Claire on Facebook and adds her as a friend, but Claire does not accept the request. The next day, Eric comes into class to talk to his teacher.
I liked being out in the world with you.
Eric comes up to Claire and kisses her.
What are you doing?
That night, Eric has a very cool dream, and when he wakes up, he realizes that he has fallen deeply in love with his teacher. Claire takes tests and finds out that in order to get pregnant, she must undergo the procedure of artificial insemination. Nate offers to do this as soon as possible, but Claire is not sure that she wants a child with him. At school, Eric apologizes to Claire for what he did. He begs her to continue her extracurricular literature classes. He promises that he will not make such a mistake again. Claire agrees to continue being his tutor. A little later, Claire notices Eric asking a girl to the prom. Claire feels jealous. On her day off, Claire comes to the cafe and waits for Eric. But Eric decided not to come to class. Friends find out that Eric recently came to college with some woman. He says that this is his friend whom he recently met. He says her name is Stephanie, to deflect suspicion. In the evening, Eric comes to the party with Allison. Matt came to the ball with his friend's sister, and constantly suggested that everyone go to the hotel. The girl didn't like this, and left. Claire asks Eric why he didn't come. He says that he cannot be near her because he is always thinking about her.
I have dreams about you.
Eric says that he doesn't want her to have problems because of him, and therefore it's better for them to stop communicating. He returns to the ball. Claire goes inside too and thinks about his words. She looks at him and invites him with her gaze to follow her. She leaves the school and goes to the car. Eric follows her. Claire drives to a secluded area and stops.
We don't have to do this if you don't want to.
Eric gets into the back seat and Claire sits next to him. Eric will remember this night for the rest of his life. At night, Eric returns home, and he is happy because he spent the night with a beautiful woman. Claire has no regrets either. In the morning, she receives a message from Eric. She reads it and immediately erases it. After the lesson, Claire invites Eric to meet again at the same place. After class, Eric comes to the appointed place and likes Claire's photo. She notices this and tells him that he can't do that because her husband might find out about it. Eric apologizes and they get down to business. In the evening, Claire comes home and she doesn't want to see her husband. Eric and Claire begin to spend time together almost every day. The guy fell in love with his teacher. Matt says that he really liked Mary, and he regrets that he acted like an idiot. He wanted to appear cool in front of her and lost her because of it. Eric realizes that he doesn't want to be Claire's toy. He wants more. In the evening, Eric's mom asks him to look after his brothers at home while she's on a date, but Claire sends beautiful photos to Eric and asks him to meet right now. He asks a neighbor to keep an eye on his brothers and goes on a date with Claire. Eric gets into the car, and Claire immediately gets down to business, but Eric stops her. He says that he does not want to be a toy in her hands. He confesses his feelings to her and says that he really likes her, and he wants to be sure that Claire will not forget about him tomorrow.
I like you too.
Eric is glad to hear such an answer. At night, Eric returns home, where his mother is waiting for him. A woman is angry with her son because he left his brothers unattended. One of the brothers got hurt, and at that moment, Eric realizes that he acted stupidly again when he left. Eric's birthday is coming. Claire rented a small house for them for the weekend. Eric films Claire to capture this moment forever. They are both happy to be together like a real family.
Happy birthday.
Thanks.
But Claire asks to delete the video so that no one can see it. In the evening, Eric cooks a delicious dinner, which greatly surprises Claire. She tells him that her mother died as a child, and she lived with her father. Her father drank a lot of alcohol, and Claire hates him for it. In the morning, they wake up in the same bed for the first time, but Claire receives a phone call from her husband.
Hey, honey.
Eric doesn't like the fact that Claire still hasn't left her husband. Claire was punished for this telephone conversation.
Take your underwear off.
During the day, Claire smokes for the first time, and later in the evening she tells Eric that he has a fun life in college in his future. She says that she envies him because his whole life is still ahead of him. She asks him not to miss the moment and have as much fun as possible. She says that when he no longer needs her, he will be able to find himself many beautiful girls. Eric doesn't like this conversation. He is offended by Claire and asks why she is telling him all this. Claire says that Eric himself will leave her soon because she is old. She doesn't believe that their relationship will last long. But Eric says that he doesn't need other girls. He wants to be with her. Eric confesses his love.
I love you.
I love you.
They end the day in their bed, and the next day they go back to the city. Eric's mom wishes her son a happy birthday. Meanwhile, Claire attends her husband's concert at a bar with her friend. Catherine realizes that Claire is cheating on her husband, but she does not condemn her friend. Catherine sees that Claire has been very happy lately. She asks what kind of man makes her so happy. Claire decides to tell the truth.
It's Eric.
Claire, that's like a monumental abuse of power.
Catherine is shocked and condemns her friend. She says that she must tell the director about this. Claire asks not to do this. She says that she and Eric are happy and he is already an adult. But Catherine leaves. Claire realizes that the next day will be the worst day of her life. She comes home and tells everything to her husband. In the morning, the police come to Eric and ask him about Claire. Eric says that they are just friends, and she is his tutor. But the police already know that Eric and Claire had a romantic relationship. Eric has to tell the truth. After the police leave, he calls Claire and tells him what happened. He apologizes and thinks that it's all his fault. Claire cries, but does not say that it was her.
I'm sorry, I have to go.
Nate decides to talk to Claire and offers to help her. He is ready to forgive her in order to save the family. All students and their parents already know what happened. Eric's friends supported him. They are sure that Claire herself is to blame for everything. Eric tells them that they did this together, and because of him, she could go to jail. He says that she didn't do anything wrong, but Matt thinks that Claire is crazy, and what she did is not normal. Eric doesn't agree with him. In the evening, Claire leaves home because she is not ready to stay with her husband. She meets with Eric at night. He suggests escaping the city together. He again confesses his love to her and says that they should be together.
We can. We're good together.
This is crazy.
They leave the city and rent a motel room. Nate calls Claire and asks her to come home. He says the police may charge her with kidnapping, but Claire has no intention of returning.
I'm sorry.
Eric and Claire get drunk on strong alcohol. Claire says her life is ruined for the sake of an 18-year-old guy. Eric doesn't like these words, but Claire lets him know that she has made her choice. She chose him. In the morning, Eric reads messages on his phone. His mother and friends are very worried and ask him to come back. Eric feels afraid because he doesn't know what to do next. He leaves the motel and drives home, leaving Claire alone. Claire wakes up and realizes that Eric has abandoned her. She returns to the city and comes to the police station herself to tell the truth. Several months pass. Eric was able to go to college. He comes to his first party where he meets new friends. They all know about his story with the teacher, and they ask for details. At first, Eric doesn't say anything, but soon he talks about how they spent time together.
Did she have like a full bush? Or just like a little itty-bitty landing strip?
He tells this so that the guys will stop asking him these questions.
Landing strip.
After the party, Eric goes to the hotel room with a beautiful girl, but the very next day, he forgets her. Meanwhile, Claire has been in prison for several months. She fully admitted her guilt. Eric tells his new friend about this. Matt doesn't think Claire is a criminal. He doesn't see that she did anything wrong. Eric says that he tried to explain the same thing to the investigators, but they didn't listen to him. He still blames himself for what happened. In the evening, Eric comes home to have dinner with his mother. She worries about her son and says that she is always ready to help him. She says that Claire will soon be released from prison. Eric didn't expect Claire to be released so soon.
Jesus Christ, Mom, look, I'm fine. I'm fine.
At night, Eric and his friends decide to have a little fun. He climbs onto the roof of the car and falls off it at low speed. The next day, Eric joins the fraternity, but he really doesn't like this party and leaves. The next morning, Claire is released from prison. She is greeted by her brother and father, with whom she has not communicated for a long time. The man wants to help his daughter, but she decides to go live with her brother. He tells her that his wife doesn't want Claire to live with them. He also talks about the fact that Nate has filed for divorce, and she will soon have to sign the documents. Claire has lost everything. She tries to return to normal life and starts running in the morning. She comes to a clothing store to get a job as a salesperson, but they kick her out because the store owner knows who she is. Claire gets back into the car and doesn't know what to do. At dinner, Claire argues with her brother and his wife. The woman thinks that Claire is a bad person. In response, Claire tells her to go to hell. Claire tries to explain to her brother again that she didn't do anything wrong, but he doesn't want to change his mind.
If the roles were reversed, you'd be high-fiving me right now.
Are you listening to yourself? He was your student.
I know,
Claire does not consider herself guilty. She is sure that Eric himself took advantage of her.
but he pursued me. He kissed me.
But this does not relieve her of responsibility. She had to refuse the guy. In the evening, Eric sends her a message and invites her to meet. The next day, Claire gets her makeup done and meets Eric at home. Eric apologizes to her. He is sure that he is completely to blame for everything that happened.
This is all my fault.
I'm the one who... I just wanted someone else to know how happy we were.
Eric wants them to get back together. Claire wants this too, but she drives him away and says that they cannot be together.
Eric, go be a kid, Eric. You need to leave.
No, you can't. Come on.
Claire packs up her things and moves in with her father. A few months later, Claire meets a man. She invites him to her apartment and to her bed. The man knows who Claire is and what she has done, and he likes it. He uses Claire and calls her teacher. The next day, Claire meets with her husband. She signs the documents and apologizes to him, but Nate doesn't want to hear her apology and asks her to leave his house as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, Eric also meets women at the club. One of them seems interesting to him and he decides to talk to her. She tells him that she recently broke up with her boyfriend. She says that at the beginning of their relationship she was very much in love and did not see any problems, but she soon realized that this relationship had completely exhausted her, and she decided to break up with her boyfriend. Eric realizes that he too had strong feelings for Claire, and he shouldn't blame himself for it. Soon, Claire invites a man to her home again. She kisses him passionately and asks him to hit her.
Are you okay?
Claire asks for more, but the man refuses and leaves. Claire comes to her father. He tries to help the girl and wants to talk to her, but she doesn't need his advice. She says that she lived on her own all her life, and as a child was constantly afraid that he would die from alcohol intoxication. Claire thinks it's all her father's fault. Several years pass. Eric has matured and graduated from college a long time ago, but he still hasn't decided what he wants to do in life and hasn't found his love. He became more withdrawn and had almost no friends left. At this time, Claire is raising 2 daughters and is married to a successful man. Her life has changed a lot. Claire became happier and she made peace with her father. She no longer remembers what happened to her many years ago. Eric has been living in another city for a long time and very rarely sees his mother and brothers. One day he comes to the city and accidentally meets Claire in a store. He sees her children and that she has changed a lot.
Oh, wow. Eric.
I should probably get going.
Eric comes home and he's very happy to see his mom. His brothers are already grown up. Claire returns home and thinks only about Eric. She's been planning to call him all day to talk. In the evening, Eric comes to school for a reunion. He meets his old friends. Matt married Josh's sister. They invite Eric to see each other more often. At the end of the party, Allison approaches Eric. He apologizes for leaving her at graduation. She says that she has not been offended by this for a long time. After the party, Allison and Eric go to the hotel. They spend the night together, and in the morning Allison flies away, but leaves him her phone number. Allison also noticed that Eric had become very withdrawn and had changed a lot. In the morning, Claire sends Eric a message. She suggests meeting at a cafe. Eric comes to the meeting. He feels awkward.
Why did you text me?
She apologizes to him and says that she is happy for him, that he was able to improve his life.
I didn't move forward with my life. Our relationship destroyed me.
Claire apologizes again and says that she is to blame for him. She thinks that she should not have reciprocated his attentions. She should have stopped him when he kissed her. Eric is shocked that Claire still hasn't realized what she's done. He reminds her that she was the first to talk to them. She was the first to ask to be called by her name, and she was the first to offer to sit in the back seat of the car. While Claire lives a full life, Eric is forever left with psychological trauma. He tells her that it took him several years to stop blaming himself for what happened. Eric realizes that Claire still only thinks about herself and came here to get rid of her guilt.
No, wait, Eric, please.
I have to live with this forever.
Eric leaves and finally forgives himself for what happened. And that's where the series ends. Share your opinion about it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to watch new videos first.